What is up, fantasy freaks, geeks, and everything in between? Welcome back to another episode here at Fantasy First on the High Stakes Sports Debates Network. Just want to thank you very much for your time listening to the show. For those of you that stuck with me from day one when I gave my intro video, I just want to say thanks. Thank you for listening. Thank you for commenting. There were a couple of you that did, and I greatly appreciate that. And that's why I do this, because I want to help you guys out. And football's my life. I'm addicted to it. And this is going to be the final episode before we start getting into the regular season, guys. So this is my final advice for you guys. I know a lot of people have their drafts this weekend, Memorial Day. And it's really exciting. I got 2 more drafts, so I'm pumped up, really ready to go. This is just my final advice episode to you guys. And I'm going to start it off by, just some guys that I've been talking about during the season, but I love to death. And, one of the guys is Martavis Bryant. Now, my advice is draft this kid. Honestly, the 4-game suspension might have helped if you think about it, because a lot of people were drafting him in that 3rd, 4th round range, and it was getting a little too pricey for Martavis Bryant, especially for a guy who couldn't ward off Marcus Wheaton for that number 3 job, and frankly, that was disheartening to hear. But because he was going to play the full season, people were overdrafting him. Now you can get him in like the 6th, 7th, 8th round. And when he comes back, he's going to be a stud. You saw what he did against Buffalo. Buffalo's got a pretty good defense. Not too many shutdown corners on that team. But with the type of pass rush that Buffalo has, okay, it's hard to put up points. This guy averaged 40 yards a reception against the Buffalo Bills. That's crazy to me. This guy's a beast. If he's there in round 7, I pull the trigger without hesitation. Other last-minute advice for you guys: draft Teddy Bridgewater and Charles Johnson. They're going to be a potent combination from the quarterback and wide receiver position perspective this year. You've got Adrian Peterson back now. You guys have seen what Teddy Bridgewater has done. I think he's completed over 70% of his passes in preseason. Yes, preseason. And I understand that. But this kid has promise. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, all right? I've got a couple more drafts this weekend. I might legitimately go into the year, use my 9th, 10th round pick on Teddy Bridgewater. I might go into the year with him as my starter. That's not something I'm joking about. If I've got studs like Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, and just guys that'll put up points for me, I think that in Norv's system with Peterson, that I can expect 18 to 21 points per game from Teddy Bridgewater. And that's lowballing it for me. I mean, what if he has 3 touchdowns and 300 yards in a couple games? Plus he runs. He had 209 rushing yards, so that's a nice side cachet of points. I really love Teddy Bridgewater going into this year. Charles Johnson is also fantastic value in round 7 for where he's going. He might not be the best PPR guy because he's catching a lot of vertical passes, but I think a lot of those vertical passes will translate into touchdowns for Charles Johnson. Another guy I'm definitely, last minute, make sure you target between rounds 8 and 10 is John Brown. You can sing about Michael Floyd till the cows come home, okay? I think John Brown is going to be that small receiver that Bruce Arians loves. You go back to Pittsburgh, he was part of bringing in Antonio Brown. He had T.Y. Hilton, okay? In his short stint in Indianapolis, Bruce Arians loves those short, speedy receivers that can get down the field, that can also run good routes. And I believe John Brown had over 120 targets, if I'm not mistaken. I know he had over 100. And he was playing with some pretty bad quarterbacks, and he was the number 3 target on the team last year. So draft John Brown. I wouldn't rely on him as my 1 or my 2, but I think he has high upside 3 potential, and he could be an every week flex starter for you. Also, Sam Bradford, I'm officially sold, and I'm a Giants fan. Yeah, I'm wearing a Hakeem Nicks jersey because Hakeem was awesome before he got hurt. I know y'all remember that 2012 game against the Aqib Talib and the Bucks, where Hakeem Nicks just shredded him up for 150 yards. This is that game that Eli Manning, I think, threw for over 510 passing yards. But unfortunately, that's forever ago and now just a dream. Getting back to it, Sam Bradford, I love him. You saw what he did against the Packers. Packers don't have the best defense. I get that, but you're really banking on Chip Kelly's system here. Again, if he's around 7, round 8 value, how can I pass that up? Listen, I know a lot of people have hate for Matthew Berry, whatever, that's fine. One of the stats that he said that stuck with me was there have been only 4 quarterbacks since Chip Kelly took over to put up more than 18 points per game from the quarterback position, and that's Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. That's elite company. Those are the only quarterbacks that have put up more fantasy points per game than Eagles combined starting quarterbacks since Chip Kelly took over. That's crazy. That just shows you what kind of production that Chip Kelly guarantees, and I'm almost questioning now that is Philadelphia kind of entering that stratosphere with the Colts, with the Packers, where it's just, I just want to pluck pieces. It doesn't matter where they come from. I just want guys in these offenses because I know that they will produce. So when I'm looking at Sam Bradford and the type of value that he is, if he can stay healthy, he can put up some serious quarterback one numbers, not someone that you want to stray away from. I get the ACL injury is bad, but Tom Brady came back from an ACL. Adrian Peterson, Wes Welker, guys come back. Jamal Charles, guys come back from ACLs. So those are the big 4 or 5 guys that I wanted to bring home. Now let's talk about some guys not to overdraft draft day. The highlight on my list here is Emmanuel Sanders. Listen, I get it, 101 catches, I believe, last year. 1,400 yards, 9 scores. Peyton Manning threw the ball over 650 times. You're not going to get that type of volume this year from Emmanuel Sanders. Plus, Cody Latimer looks to try and, take that number 2 role. Excuse me. But when I look at Emmanuel Sanders, I think he's a talented player. I think he benefited from a lot of volume in Peyton's talent. But this offense is going to run through C.J. Anderson and this running game, keep Peyton upright, keep Peyton healthy, okay? I'm just not drafting Emmanuel Sanders, especially at that round 3 price. That, to me, is crazy. Excuse me, I'm coming down with a little bit of a cold. Another guy that I'm avoiding here is LaShawn McCoy. All right, listen, he's a stud. He's great talent at the position. My worry with McCoy is he's not ready for week 1, according to the Buffalo Bills, A. And B, are we sure that he's going to be, his type of run style is going to translate to a Greg Roman ground and pound type of offense with Rex Ryan? I understand McCoy's great talent, and he's great in space, and he'll probably catch a crap ton of balls. But I'm just not sold on him in the mid-second round. I'd rather take an elite receiver, a safer option. I'm on record now at this point. Give me Mark Ingram over LaShawn McCoy. Last year, you look at Mark Ingram's touches, okay? This guy had over 950 yards on 220-plus carries in like 12 games. He missed a month with a broken hand. So that's not a major knee or ligament injury that's going to scare you off. Okay, just part of playing the position. Mark Ingram got banged up. If he plays 4 more games, we're talking about this guy being a first-round pick, second-round pick, Mark Ingram. So if you can still nail this guy at third-round value, I will, I'll give you a nice bow. I'll tip my cap. I'll salute you. Okay, that's wonderful. All right, that's just playing good fantasy football. Other guy I want to avoid at his value again is Matt Forte. Listen, he averaged under 3 yards per carry. He doesn't have Trestman to pepper him with passing targets. I'm just a little unsure about Matt Forte at that price. Again, give me Mark Ingram. Give me Jeremy Hill at those prices. Younger players that are in good situations or are in voluminous situations. Jeremy Hill's going to be the go-to guy in the red zone. Mark Ingram is the same. Again, 9 touchdowns in 12 games. I think he could have had 11 or 12. So those are all guys that I would rather have both those guys over Matt Forte. He'll be 30 by the end of the year. I'm just not sure if I'm willing to invest a high stock price into Matt Forte. So, continuing on here, another guy that I want to avoid is Golden Tate. I think he's a great talent and he's in a good position. Is Calvin going to stay healthy this year? Usually when Calvin puts up bad numbers, he claps back pretty strongly. And a lot of that production came when Calvin Johnson was out. So I'm just not sure there what's Golden Tate's asking price? 5th round? In a PPR, I'll take a guy like CJ Spiller, a running back. And plus, I just think there's better value later in the drafts. Again, we talk about, I'd rather have Devontae Adams in round 4. If you ask me, that's a guy that when we go to the overvalue segment, I have to overvalue Devontae Adams. This guy had 24 touchdowns at Fresno State in his senior year. That's crazy. So, yeah, I'm going to overvalue him. I'm not overdrafting Tate. If he's there in round 7, I'll take it. But I'm just, I give a lot of credit to him. He's a good talent. I think Calvin stays healthy this year. And I think Tate is looking at a 70 catch, maybe close to 1,000-yard season. I don't think he scratches it, though. Another guy I'm not overvaluing, even though the hype definitely, was there this year, and that's Allen Robinson. I'm not sold on any really fantasy commodity in that Jacksonville system. We're still waiting for Blake Bortles to develop. That offensive line is still bad. I think that Bortles was in the top 3 in terms of sacks taken last year. So while I think Allen Robinson is a great prospect for Dynasty, and I'd love to have him in Dynasty, in redraft, if he's not there in round 8, I'm just not touching him. I see him go in round 6. And again, for me, there's just too much depth at the receiver position for me to take a guy that high. When in round 6, there's other options. Maybe I don't have a quarterback. I'd rather have a guy like Eli Manning or Matt Ryan or somebody like that who I know, while might not be elite in terms of statistical production, I know that there's a pretty decently safe floor there, especially with the weapons that are surrounding those guys. And I would come back maybe round 8, round 9, get another receiver with upside there. So now we're going to transition to guys that you want to overvalue, and my first guy is Jeremy Hill. He's a stud. I've talked about him during this podcast. I don't need to keep talking about him. If he's there in the second round at the end of your first, take him, run away, all right? Because next year he's going to be a top 5 pick. I can almost guarantee you that, okay? So get him while he's value now. Next guy, I've talked about him all offseason, Andre Johnson. If he's there in round 4, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Why? Because he's 34 years old? Randy Moss went to New England when he was 34 years old. Look what he did. All right, I'm not saying this guy's Moss, but he could produce. All right, so Andre Johnson's a guy. I've talked about John Brown. Draft this guy. All right, he's a stud. Draft Devontae Adams in round 4, okay? That should be your target. If anything, I would probably consider, depending on where I'm in the draft, running back. Let's say I can snag maybe C.J. Anderson and Hill or C.J. Anderson and Murray. Okay, I'm going to come around and take Devontae Adams because he's going to be the number 1 red zone threat in an Aaron Rodgers-led offense. So I'll have wide receiver depth there, and I know I can find more guys later in the draft. My final guy who I've been hyping up all offseason, and if I'm wrong, you guys could point the finger, laugh at me, whatever. It's Andre Williams. It's not if Rashad Jennings gets hurt, it's when Rashad Jennings gets hurt. Andre Williams has been able to catch the football. He is the number 1 goal line back. I believe he punched inside the 5-yard line last year, 5 out of, I want to say 11 times or something like that. Don't quote me on that stat, but I think I remember reading something like that. That's pretty phenomenal. So I'm all in on Andre Williams. If I'm wrong this time next year, you guys can ridicule me, point the finger, do whatever you want. That's fine. I'll be able to eat the crow. Final strategy advice for you guys entering this year: stack skill positions, get your quarterback late. We talked about how much value there is. Just to go down the list real quick again: Eli Manning, Matt Ryan, Ryan Tannehill, Teddy Bridgewater, Matthew Stafford, Ben Roethlisberger, Tony Romo, Sam Bradford. Just a lot of options at the end of your draft to where, while I think Luck and Rodgers are the cream of the crop, I'm not touching a quarterback personally till at least round 6, unless Manning slips to round 5. If Peyton Manning's there in round 5, which I did get in a mock draft, I'll take that value just because you have safety there in Peyton Manning. So yeah, get a late quarterback, okay? And honestly, that's really much it. Just draft guys that are on good winning teams because they produce. For example, the Colts are going to win, so I'll draft Andre Johnson. I'll draft Frank Gore. The Packers are going to win. The Steelers are going to win. The Patriots are going to win. Okay? There are teams in the NFC like the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Seahawks. Okay? These are all winning teams that will at least at some point in the end of the season be fighting to get to the playoffs, and that will translate to fantasy production. Thanks, guys, for watching the final preseason episode of Fantasy First here on the High Stakes Sports Debates Network. I just want to say I really appreciate all the love, guys. I'm just kind of this random nobody that just jumped on YouTube, and, I want to appreciate whatever small support that I've got from everybody. It really means a lot. It doesn't go overlooked, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. But, no, seriously, thanks, guys. We'll be transitioning to more of a stardom, sit-em, waiver wire ads. We'll digress about trade possibilities. The next episode, we will be shifting towards the regular season. So if you want to catch up real quick on my rankings, everything I've done, you can go down my entire channel on YouTube, find everything there. Also, check out dynastynerds.com. I'm a staff writer for them now. If you guys are interested in Dynasty Fantasy Football, in my personal opinion, it's better than Redraft. It's more fun. Check out Dynasty Nerds. Also, check out Rebel Media. I'm also going to be writing for them pretty soon, starting September 1st. So, actually, it's already happened. And I'll be their NFC East beat writer. So, follow me on Twitter. I'm at SportsDebatesTom. You can check that in the description below for all those links. And please just, share, subscribe, comment, and I want to hear what you guys have to say. So thank you for watching this episode of Fantasy First here on the High Stakes Sports Debates Network, and we'll see you next time. High Stakes Sports Debates.